Thank you, Andrew, and it's my enormous pleasure to welcome all of you here this morning. It's fantastic to see such a big audience and such a diverse audience. So I hope you're all going to really engage. We've got a very distinguished group of speakers here and panelists, but they, I'm sure, really want you to engage with the discussion. So do speak up and have your say. I can't tell you what an important topic I think you're going to be discussing today. I think if we think back 12 months ago, none of us could have predicted quite how much the political landscape was going to change in quite such a short space of time. And I'm sure I'm not the only one here today who went to bed on the 23rd of June expecting to wake up the following morning to a Remain win and for business to get back to normal. In fact, I spent the evening of the 23rd of June with a group of fellow VCs, and we had been very energetic in campaigning to remain within Europe. We were feeling quite confident. We were having a dinner. We were working. We weren't having a jolly, I assure you. We were working. But we were also looking forward very much to the following morning, to the university's UK board, where we thought we would be having a celebration, and we were looking forward to a very positive meeting with our Minister, Jo Johnson. How wrong we all were. And I can tell you that morning was one I shall never forget, and I'm sure many of you feel the same. It'll be like one of those big world events that for the rest of our lives we'll remember exactly where we were when we first found out that real truth. I actually made the mistake of getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning and starting to look at my mobile phone and not going back to bed again. But that board meeting that morning, I can tell you, was a very, very sombre occasion. And on reflection, I think we were all in shock. And the best we could do was to get ourselves together to orchestrate what we hoped would be a reasonably constructive meeting with the Minister, to who his very great credit did turn up and was remarkably sanguine, despite his very public position as a Remainer and, of course, the events that were unfolding around him and around the rest of us. And I think it was at that point that we, as leaders of the universities in the UK, started to work on doing what we've really got to do to try and help to shape the future, which, of course, is what you're going to be talking about this morning. And what we saw as our immediate concern on that very, very first morning was what we had to do for our current staff and students, because we have a lot of staff and a lot of students who are residents of mainland Europe. And our very first concern was to make sure that they felt welcome in the UK and that we did everything we possibly could to secure their future. Now, of course, that was about 10 o'clock in the morning when we were having that discussion. By that time, the Prime Minister had resigned, but I think even then we had no idea of the political turmoil that we were about to step into. And how extraordinary it's been. In just 3.5 months, we have a new Prime Minister, we have an enormous change in the government, out with the old guard, in with a whole load of new people in senior posts, new jobs in government, new government departments, and of course a new agenda. And while all that's been going on, we've watched a civil war in the main opposition party. That, on the surface at least, seems a bit calmer. The leader has been reinstated and there has been some reshaping at the top, but whether there's a real ceasefire or not, I think we're going to have to wait to see. And of course, all of that has happened within an amazingly changing and frightening global context. We have an American election with two, shall we say, rather unusual candidates. We have a daily catalogue of horrendous events in Syria that I think leave us all reeling. And the consequences of the crisis in Syria and the situation in Iraq are impacting very sorely right across Europe and Turkey. There are catastrophic economic problems beginning to emerge everywhere. And of course, a collapse of the social fabric that we've all taken for granted for the last 40 years. And I think if you look into Europe, the evidence suggests now that if there were a referendum on departure from the UK in Denmark or France or Hungary, the exiteers would probably win, and that would be the end of the EU as we know it. I guess it is already the end of the EU as we know it, because the vote was, of course, Brexit, and we will be leaving Europe. So the world is definitely a different place. But today's debate, and I think this is very important, is not about reliving the referendum. We really do have to draw a veil over that now, because none of us can change the outcome, and get on with the job of shaping the future and making sure all of us makes the very important contributions that we've all got to make. For us as a university here, as I said, securing the future for our staff and our students is absolutely at the top of our agenda. But of course, we also want to secure our links with mainland Europe and with the rest of the world. We are an international university, we're very proud of that, and we want to get on with doing what we do best. We want to work with our partners to secure and strengthen the long-term future of the higher education sector and its position as a world leader. And we mustn't forget, with all the turmoil that's going on, not just with Europe, but also in the higher education sector in the UK, that we are, in the world, only second to the US at the moment. And in some areas, we are actually number one. And we need to make sure that we build on that strength and sustain it in the face of growing competition from the rest of the world. And of course, it will be from that position of strength that we will be able to consider how best we can inject objective, evidence-based critical thinking to inform and influence policy, to address global challenges, to drive economic growth, and to make the world a better place. And that's what we as a university are here to do, to make the world a better place. It's enshrined in our charter. We are here to bring benefit to society. But many of you here today come, of course, from different sectors. And while what we do as a university can impact you, I hope we can help you, it may be that you have different priorities from us in what you see as essential. But I think we can say, whatever our position, Brexit may be the end of the world as we know it, but it isn't the end of the world. It's an opportunity for us to help to shape the world that we're about to enter, and it's up to all of us in this room to grab that opportunity before somebody else does, because I think we've all got a vast amount to contribute. I think as academics, we're probably particularly privileged because we are blind to borders, and that's one of the very great privileges of being an academic. And I'm always proud to say that this university has done extraordinarily well by internationalisation measures. For example, in 2014-15, in the Times Higher Education World University Rankings, we were actually ranked 15th in the world for internationalisation. And that's a truly fantastic result and a great reflection of not just the diversity of the university, but the impact that the university has internationally. If you look at another Times Higher League table, the one for universities under 50 years of age, we were first in the UK for citations. And that's a truly outstanding achievement because it means that our work is referred to more than any other young university in the UK by other scientists and academics. Now, sadly, it's the last year that we'll appear in that particular league table because this year, as many of you will know, is our 50th birthday as a university. So now we'll be joining the grown-ups, but I'm sure our talent will emerge in other ways. So back to today's event. As I said, I'm really hugely grateful we've got such a fantastic array of speakers for you with such a spread of expertise. I know they're going to provoke lots of interesting discussion, and I hope very much you're all going to engage with it. I would just say one word of warning that Andrew's instructed me to say. We've agreed with the student union, or I should say the Union of Brunel Students, to get it correct, that anyone who says Brexit means Brexit is going to have to pay a significant forfeit to support international travel for our students. So be on your guard, and Andrew is there making notes. So once again, thank you all for coming. Have a fantastic morning. I'm really sorry that I can't stay with you, but I have to go off for another meeting. But before I finish, I'd like to say a big thank you to Dimitrios and to Andrew and to their teams who have done so much to make today happen. So please join me in thanking them.